Welcome to the JavaScript Part 1 topic video. So this is covering the slides, JavaScript 1. Let's get started with JavaScript. Learning objectives. We need to understand JavaScript as a computer language. It is a legitimate computer language. People used to give it a lot of grief in the old days, but it is modern, it has been evolving, and it is used a lot. Both in the browser and the server. In the browser, you don't have too many options. In the server, you have options, but JavaScript does pretty well on the server. So we need to understand JavaScript as a computer language. How does it differ? How is it similar to languages that we know? Okay, we're going to learn and use the JavaScript syntax, the grammar. We'll find out about variables and types and all that kind of thing. What kind of typing do we have with JavaScript? We're going to use and learn JavaScript expressions and operators, a subset. Okay, there's going to be more to come, and we're going to be picking up this stuff and polishing our JavaScript and working on our JavaScript knowledge throughout the course. Okay, so this is the beginning. Okay, there's a lot of stuff that we just look up in the references online. Okay, so we have readings. The introduction, grammar and types, expression and operators. We're only going to worry about the basic stuff here, plus type of, because it's good to be able to, because that's going to help us understand JavaScript as a programming language. Okay, but otherwise, there's a lot of stuff there, and we just look it up as we need it. Okay, so what is it? JavaScript is a cross-platform. That means it runs in many different places. Object-oriented, so it supports object-oriented style programming. Scripting. What's a scripting language? We'll get to that. Scripting language. It contains a standard library of objects, such as array, date, and math, which contains a lot of functions, some of which you'd have to go get extra libraries. So in that sense, it's kind of similar to Python with the batteries included, okay? And core set of language elements such as operators, control structures, and statements. So it's a pretty good and complete language in and of itself before you even throw in a gazillion libraries out there, okay? Client-side JavaScript, okay? What do we mean by that? JavaScript running in the browser is not just JavaScript, but something called the document object model, which allows JavaScript to work with the elements in a page. All these slideshows are being given to you by a combination of HTML plus JavaScript, because it's one HTML file with JavaScript controlling which part of the file, HTML file, you see at one time. JavaScript, client-side JavaScript runs in a browser. That's what we mean. Now, it may be hidden, the fact that you're in a browser. You might think you're running an app, but nonetheless. Server-side JavaScript. When we do web servers, or JavaScript, what do we mean by server-side JavaScript? JavaScript running outside the browser is a good general definition. Okay, we're going to use it to make web servers. You don't have to. Okay, people use it to make tools and do all sorts of other programming. If you get like me, sometimes you forget your Python and stuff like that. There's certain things that I can do quicker in JavaScript than I can in Python, which means I'm getting rusty with Python. Okay, and we do that via most of the time through a library. Via a runtime system called Node.js that we'll learn more about later. Okay. First of all, JavaScript is not Java. Java was the hot language at the time the first browsers were coming out. So they came up with, in a very short time, a language to do some fun dynamics in a browser. And they decided to call it JavaScript. Okay. JavaScript and Java are similar in some ways, but very different in others. Okay. JavaScript as a language resembles Java's, but does not have any of Java's static typing or strong type checking. JavaScript follows Java expression syntax, which is really like C and C++ syntax. Okay, so if you haven't seen C, C++, or Java, some of the syntax will be new. Okay, but if the only language you've ever programmed is Python, because we have braces and brackets and statement terminators. Okay, you'll see what I mean in a second. In contrast to Java, C, or C++, okay, where you have a compile time system of classes built by declaration, JavaScript supports a runtime system based on a small amount. What do we mean by that? Okay, we're going to be we don't compile things first. This is a scripting language. We just run things from our perspective. What is being done by the interpreter that we use may look more like compilation in a certain sense for optimization purposes. But us as a programmer, we do not go through a separate compile then run step. Okay, it's an interpreted language. We type it in as we go. Unlike Java, JavaScript is very permissive. Okay, you don't have to declare all your variables, classes, and methods. You don't have to be considered with whether methods are public or private or protected. You don't have to implement interfaces, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's going to be really easy to get started and really easy to practice. Okay, so how are we going to practice? How are we going to get a platform? Well, it turns out in your browser, if you watch the other videos or you've listened to me drone on in class, we go here and we go to Web Developer. Click on Web Developer. We go to Web Console. Okay. We can open up a console that will run JavaScript. Okay. Now, one thing to note, I can put the dock for the console at the bottom, or I can put it to the right. We're going to be using it so much that I'm going to put it to the right because we're going to have it open a lot of the time here because we're going to just try out a lot of these examples, and it's going to be easy to try them out. Okay, so in case you're flipping through the slides by yourself, this is what it would look like. So I took a picture of me doing something on the command console. Notice it even does syntax highlighting for you in the developer console. Okay, let's try our first JavaScript program. Okay, so how do we do this? Should we cut, copy, and paste? Oops, I got some of that stuff too. No. We just hover over this area and we'll get a copy button. Okay, we click it and it copies to the clipboard. Then, with our console open, we can go paste. Okay, we just pasted some JavaScript code into the JavaScript developer, the developer console, and so we can use the JavaScript that runs in the browser that would be run on this page, okay, to run this program. So let's hit return. Oh, that's annoying. I meant to do that. I said alert, hello, your name. This is a standalone function. Oh, that's just a function we can call. Let's try calling it again. Greet. Oh, look at that. It recognizes that we have a function named greetMe. Oh, I don't want to write it all out, so I can use tab to complete it, so I don't have to type the whole thing and with my big fingers make a mess. So let's say you're in CS 351 or 651. CS 651. We defined a function up here as simple as saying function, giving a name, giving some parameters. Wow, we can run the thing. Oh, hello CS 351 or CS 651. Okay, so that's different from Java. Java, you can't have functions floating freely outside a class, right? Or an object. We're allowed to here. So this is a little bit like C or C++. Okay, very simple to use and define. Okay, Not terribly complicated, okay? So, we're able to run things. If you're using Firefox, one thing to note, they added a new feature lately, and that is for the dev console, there's a multi-line editor view. Okay, so haven't used this much because this just came in with the recent, okay, which means I can come over here, do my copy and paste thing, okay, but instead over here, this is a multi-line editor, so I can say greet me to your name, greet me to your name. Oh, I got an editor here. Hello, your name plus, wow, that's weird. I use single quotes around hello, your name. Then I'm going to give a bunch of exclamation parts. Then I'm going to go greet me to. No, I'm going to take that out. I'm just defining a function. Okay, so that takes 3 lines. Okay, now we're going to run it. Over here, ran. We didn't get any output. Why didn't we get any output? Because it's a function. I haven't called it yet, right? Oh, so let's go back to our single line and go greet me. Oh, it shows me what functions are available, and it starts doing autocomplete. This is a debug window? This seems like it's nicer than most programming environments. Yeah. CS. Everything. Okay. So greet me too. Oh. Works. Nice. Okay. So I may or may not use, depending, the multi-line editor view, but we'll probably use it to practice in class. Okay. So let's get down into grammars and types. I'm going to hide this for a second. I bring this up back and forth so often that I have the hotkeys memorized. Controls, what is it? Control Shift I. Control Shift I. Okay. On Windows. It's different on Mac. It's worth it to know it because you want to bring that up. We have comments, just like C++ and Java. Okay, so we have single-line comments and multi-line comments. Okay, nothing too new. We'll use those in a sec. We have variable declarations. We can declare variables in 3 different ways. Var, x, let, s, or any variable name you like, const, c. What's the difference? Okay, var x is old-fashioned. It's got some quirks. Okay, it does what, if you use var x, it behaves like JavaScript has always done and always will. Let is modern. It has standard scoping rules. I can't really talk about scoping because we haven't introduced program blocks or anything, but it's like what you're used to from most grown-up programming languages. Okay. The var declaration is weird. Okay, I will tell you that. So let's try copying. Okay. Let's try pasting. Okay. I'm going to tell you of one more method that you'll never use in code, but that you'll use a lot from the command line. Why my var, reference error, my var is not defined, equals, now I'm going to define it, 45. What did you just, that's, instead of var, I just put it in. This declares a global variable. We all know global variables are bad. We shouldn't use global variables. Doesn't matter when we're working on the dev console line. We're trying things out. Okay. Our first job is to try things out, make sure they work, and then we put them and clean things up in our written code. Okay. So on the dev console, global vars are okay. I don't even bother with var because it's quirky, and global var that without using is fine. Okay. Let and const is what we're going to use for our good code. Okay, const C equals 4444 error. Okay, modern like we said it was const. You try and reassign it. Okay, good. Little bit of help. Okay, I know that may not be surprising to you, but it's surprising for JavaScript. Okay, what about variable names? You know, it's just like what you're used to with Java and C and C++ and pretty much Python. Okay, let's start with a letter. And like Python, they allow you to use an underscore. I can't remember if Python lets you use a $sign. Okay, because that underscore thing, sometimes it's a hidden way of saying, you know, like Python, we don't really have private protected variables, so we're going to put an underscore in front of it to like make you go, wow, that's weird looking. Maybe I won't mess with that thing, okay, unless I know what I'm doing. $sign always would freak me out when I would see it because it's like, oh, but it was used in some classic, very popular JavaScript libraries just for the fact that nobody likes to use it as a variable name. So if you look at jQuery code, which we're not doing in this class because we don't need it anymore, okay, they're pulling it even out of Bootstrap. Very nice library for what it does. If you have to deal with compatibility with old browsers, recommend it. We're not going to touch it. Okay, they use $sign. Okay, so it's case sensitive. So A through Z uppercase are different from A through Z lowercase, and you know those typos will bother us. Okay. Now, a variable declared using var or let with no addition value gets the value undefined. What? Let's try it. Okay, so var bvar. So I declared a variable called bvar. Ooh, what did it print here? Undefined. Oh, console.log. Oh, this is how we're going to debug things. bvar. We're going to print out the value of bvar, but we didn't define it. Oh, it tells us it's undefined. Okay. Hey, cool. Okay. What happens? Okay, an attempt to access an undeclared variable. What's an undeclared variable? Console.log myvar. Okay. Whoopsies. Look, before I can even execute the statement, they're complaining to me. Reference error, my var is not defined. Uncaught reference error, my var is not defined. Is that nice? It's helping us, okay? This comes in every desk and all the desktop laptop browsers, okay? Firefox and Chrome, okay? Slightly different looking than Chrome. I use both. Sometimes they behave a little different, and sometimes you can help. One will help you find things more than the other. Okay, so let's get into it as a programming language, okay? What do we mean by variable scope? Okay, that means who can see this. We got global scope, local scope, and block scope. We need to see some stuff to see those things. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, prior to the modern JavaScript that we're using, it only had global and local scope. Okay, so that means things defined in a function were local and such like that. Okay. They had this weird thing called variable hoisting. Ooh, that we're not going to have to worry about because we're not really going to use var much. It's one of those things if you're working with legacy code. Okay. Okay. Let and const support block, local, and global scope, and they behave as you would expect. We're going to do examples when we get to for loops and if statements and things like that and learn about program blocks. Okay, but we haven't got there yet. Okay, what kind of data can you have? Oh, Booleans. There's a special value for null. We saw there's another special value for undefined. We can have numbers, integers, floats, strings. There's something called a symbol that we're not going to touch in this class. We don't have a need for it. Okay. What else do we have? Those are the primitive types. That means basic types. Okay. Everything else is going to be some kind of object-y, more advanced type. Okay. JavaScript objects can contain other data types and other objects. You can use the type of operator method to look at the data types. Note, JavaScript arrays are special objects. Okay. JavaScript functions, in fact, are considered a data type. Okay. Weird. Cool. Why do I care? Because JavaScript's a dynamically typed language. Variables don't get a data type. What? Variables don't get a data type. Huh? What do you mean, Professor? X equals 33, 32. X equals high class. Okay. X equals true. Okay, what's the value of X? True. You can put anything in a variable you like. X equals greet me. What? What? X? Hi? Hello, hi? Whoa. I can stick a function in a variable? Yep. That'll lead to functional programming, JavaScript style. Okay. So that's really cool. That's unlike C++, C, or Java, right? We have to declare the variable's type. Okay. We don't have that here. We don't have to do that, which is nice in a lot of ways. However, you get no help from the interpreter checking what you're putting into a variable because variables aren't type. Values have type. Okay, so if I go type of 1, what does it tell me? Number. Type of false, it's going to tell me Boolean. Type of X, function. Whoa. Okay. But X, why is X a function? Because that's the last thing we put in X. Okay. So values have specific types. A variable just carries a value, whatever kind of value you like. Type conversions. Okay. Let's see how type conversions might work. Okay. So let's see here. We've got let A equals, I feel like I am blah, blah. Okay. And let's see how this works. Okay. So we're going to go here. I'm going to clear this. I'm going to do I did the copy. I did the paste. Okay. Now what's A going to equal? I feel like I am 22. B. Notice I don't even have to bother with the console log. Okay. It even showing me. I feel 20 years ago today. Wow. Isn't that bizarro? Okay. Now, this doesn't work with other operators. Okay, such as minus. It doesn't know what you mean by subtracting a number from a string. What you might mean. But adding a number to a string, they assume you want to concatenate. Now, this is a good thing generally. However, this might not be what you intend. So that's one sense. It's very easy to put together a nice string of stuff. Okay, and we're going to want to do that when we're creating web pages dynamically from JavaScript. On the other hand, it may be not what you want to do, and that type conversion may be unintentional. Okay, so it's great, but it can also bite you. Okay, strings to number. Don't you hate it when you get a new language? It's like, how do I turn a string into a number so I can do? How do I turn a number into a string? Okay. How do I turn a number into a string? 22. Well, that's trickier. We're going to get to that in a second. Okay, so let's try these. Okay. What did I do? Oh, it says redeclaration of variable x. Previously, I had used a let declaration, which is the modern, nice, new way of declaring a variable. Okay. The problem with that is it's the modern, nice, new, rigorous way of defining a variable. If I've already defined it, it's not going to let me do it again. Okay. That's why from the command console, it's okay to use the global old-fashioned definition. So what did n get assigned to? N got assigned to 22. So you're telling me that's all I need to do? Ah, let's try and mess with this though. Okay, let's take this line. What do I mean mess with it? Break it. It's our job to break things. We're testers, right? So this works. Ha! I gotta make it. Now it's gonna error because I gave it a float and not an int, right? No, it didn't. What if I give it a bad number entirely? You can't. Okay. Oh, up arrow keys allow you to go to your previous, and down arrow keys, up arrow keys, I can go through my previous history. Okay. So if I messed up, or if I want to keep experimenting, I don't have to retype stuff in. Okay. Cool. Wait a second. That's not even a legal number. What's it doing? It takes as much as it can to sees and grabs whatever int it can find in there. Okay, let's see how extreme this can be. Okay, its job 27n north. Okay, oh, it just gives me 27. Come on, that's not a legit. Wow, it says it's 2. What's it doing? It assumes that the first part is as much of an int as you gave it. Okay. Now, it would be up to you to say, hey, they typed in something bad here. This is not legit. Okay. But parseInt is going to try as much as it can to get an int out of what you gave it. And once it stops looking like an int, it stops. Okay. So these are these weird things that they're kind of helpful, but they can kind of bite you. Okay. So what if I say G? Okay. Now let's see what the value of that is. It's a nan. What's a nan? Oh, that's right. This isn't interactive. You can't talk to me. Nan stands for not a number. I know. That seems silly, but that's actually in the IEEE floating point spec on how you do numbers. Okay? There's an actual value that we call nan when we get an operation that doesn't make sense, the result of an operation that doesn't make sense, like dividing by 0 will give you a nan, unless it gives you positive infinity. I can't remember. Sorry. Okay. What about arrays? What's an array? Oh, it's a list of numbers. Let's copy and see if this works. Okay. I'm going to clear this out so we put it back up top. Okay. Paste it. We got 3 different things going on here. What's this? Oh, that's right. That's a comment. That's an end of line comment. Let's see what A1 is. Oh. Okay. So that's an array. Okay. Let's look at A2. That's an array of strings. Huh. That makes sense. A3 looks weird. Let's see about A3. Wait a second. A3 has both numbers and strings in it. Aren't arrays supposed to contain stuff that's all the same? Yeah, this is really like a Python list. Okay, so that means you can put any kind of stuff in any of the slots. Why? Because it's not holding it's just holding, each array slot is like a variable. You can put anything in you want. I could put a function here next, okay? So we're going to learn all about arrays. Okay, so this was just a taste For example, A3, we want to get an element. We use what's the standard notation for arrays or Python lists. We'll have things like to tell us the length of the array and such like that. In fact, A3, A1, okay, we'll see that we have a whole set of functions, but not being one I wanted, that we can see, and oh, look at our development environment. Look at our primitive dev console. Shows you every different method on that array, okay? Some of these are fancy, very fancy, and that we really need to go look up how to use them, and we're going to learn how to use some of them. Things, advanced things, functional programming like with filter. We're never going to look through an array ourselves. We're always going to do things like find or find index and such like that. So that's just a thing, something to get you, show you coming up, okay? But that's, we're not there. This is just an introduction to arrays. Really easy to set up an array, okay? Booleans and float literals. We kind of saw these already, okay? Copy, try them out, okay? What is unexpected token? Ooh, something went wrong here. Let's see, which one did it go wrong with? X equals minus 3.01E2. Okay, what may be happening is this, which is getting copied, may not be a minus sign. I might have put in, oh wait, sorry. Let y, that's not an equal sign. Sorry, y equals 7.023. A nice floating point number. Stop is function stop. Whoops. Oh, I don't think it took any of those things because it's syntax error. Okay, so stop equals false. Okay, false might have also been, stop might have also been a function that we aren't using anywhere. Okay, to cold hasn't been defined because we had an error when I did that. Let to cold equals false. I know I said true, but it's hot right now, so let's be consistent, okay? Booleans, what you're used to. We can't show you anything useful to do with a Boolean because we haven't taught you an if statement. Yes, thank you, Professor. Okay, integer literals. They give you all the ways of doing integer literals. You get your decimal, you get your octal, you get your hex, you even get binary. Copy it, paste it, try it out. N1 equals 10, N2 is equal to, oh, that's octal. How weird. Okay, so 0 starts octal, turns into octal. Then we have 1, 0, and octal is 8. Wow. That would be real bad to mistakenly put a leading 0 in, and then it'll get interpreted as octal. You think I made that mistake? Yeah. Okay. Oh, let's look at hex. N3, what is it? Oh, that's right. FF and hex is 255. Okay. N4. Oh, that's binary for 10. So remember all your number systems? If you don't, no worries. We're not doing hardware work in here. Okay. But if you wanted to, that's why some people even, okay. You also see that, Professor, this means that I can probably convert things back and forth and stuff. So if I don't have a like a programmer's calculator, I can just use yes, you can. Okay. Do we cover strings to, oh, object literals. Okay, so we're in JavaScript. Sorry, in Java. You always have to create a class before you can create an object. Not true in JavaScript. Okay. You have to do that too in C++. Not true in JavaScript. We can just have an object literal. what does it look like here? Well, I'm going to go right up to the top. So this is a once over lightly. We are going to study arrays and JavaScript objects more in depth, but we're not going to do it because we want to study them, because we're going to use them as part of what we do when we program the web. Okay, so we're just getting a taste here. Okay, so let web dev. Okay, so what kind of syntax is this? Web dev equals, we got brace, start brace, ending brace. I have course, something here, prof, blah, blah, blah. So I can say web dev. Oh, well, it starts showing me already, but dot. Oh, wait, it's even showing me course. Oh, it uses dot notation like Python and other languages to get at the contents of an object, or like a C struct, okay, or a C++. Well, you have structs in C++. It's a class thing with all public members or whatever, okay. Very easy to get at them. Okay, course, let's see, we have prof. Do they have to be strings? No, they don't. Let's try something. Web dev dot ranking. Huh? Let's give it a rank. We're number one. Sorry, I got carried away. Professor, you can't do that. After you create an object, you can't just go adding stuff in? Yeah, you can. That simple. That easy to add stuff. Okay, now that may be hard to do programmatically, but I can also do web dev. What? What are you doing, Professor? Popularity equals. We're number 3. We're number 3. Huh? Oh, why might I do this? Because this value I might be iterating through something, which is a bunch of strings. So what I was just able to do is add 2 different ways I could add members to this object. I use dot notation. I can get things from dot notation out, and I can, so can I get the value with this weird notation? Can I go course like that and get stuff out? Ooh, yeah, I can. Okay, so these are really similar to Python dictionaries because they can grow and expand after you've created them. Okay, but they're better, they're easier to use. Okay, the world of the web is built on JavaScript objects. Seriously, everything gets turned into JavaScript objects. Okay, that'll become clear as we go through the course, because all the data that we're going to throw back and forth between our front end and our back end is going to be something called JSON, which is short for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a subset of what we're seeing here now. Okay, string literals. Strings? Strings. Why do we have 2 different ways? Actually, we've got 3 ways of doing string literals. Okay, so why can I say S1 equals single quotes sunflowers? Okay, I'm just typing it because why not? The command line really doesn't care if you have the terminating semicolon. In your programs, it does matter. Okay, S2 equals double quotes cactus. Type of S1 string. Type of S2 string. What's the difference? Why? There is no difference. These are both legitimate strings. Why do we have 2 different types of quotes? So you can do this. S4 equals, when writing HTML, we use double quotes. Quotes. Not single quotes. Well, this should error, or will it? We can have a single quoted string and use double quotes within it without bothering to what we call escape it. Okay? JavaScript is nice to us that way. One of those things. If I had a string where I was going to use a lot of single quotes, like for apostrophes with single quotes, I would start with double quotes on the outside. Okay? It's just a convenience for programmers. So JavaScript supports single quoted strings and double quoted strings. It's not like one's a character and one's a string. No, nothing weird that way. We don't have a character type. We just have string. Okay. What's this? What's this kind though? S3. It looks like those are single quotes. They're not. This is the same issue that comes up with our markdown. These are backticks. Okay, once again, on my keyboard, it's near the upper top left. Backtick. Should I plant? Okay, so that works. Let's do it again. Should I plant? What is $? Oh, this is scary looking syntax. S1 or $, brace S2. Oh, that's scary. Oh, should I plant sunflowers or cactus? This is known as a template string. It does substitution. Okay? So we get a templating language now built in. Okay? So this allows us to build all sorts of strings programmatically from other strings nicely. Oh, we're going to be using this to help us construct web pages dynamically. Okay, it's a nifty feature. Okay, so this special syntax you see in here in the backtick string gives us this variable substitution thing. Okay, nifty. Expressions and operators. We have all these usual things. We've got equal signs. We got plus equals. Okay, we got minus equals, we got times equals, okay, we got all that stuff that I don't think we get in Python, right? We don't get any of these assignment operators in Python, okay? This is like Java, like C, like C++. Okay, we got some new things, okay? Array destructuring. That's not destroying an array, it's a way of taking things out of an array easy. I'm just being complete here. You don't have to use this right now coming up. We may use it for convenience when we do some stuff with React later on. You may see code like this when you look at people's example React code. So let's just see how it works. So here's an array. Look at this weird thing. I'm going to say var of a bunch of stuff in array-like syntax equals foo. Okay? What this is going to do is it's going to help pull out each of these items in this array into these individual variables. Okay? Nifty. Okay? It's nice. Okay? It just makes life easier a little bit. Okay? So, well, it can actually help a lot in certain syntax situations that don't come up too much for me. Okay? We have a similar thing for objects. Take a look over here. We have an object which can, O, that's not a 0. Bad name for an object. O gets confused with 0. Wind and waves. Wind is 22. Waves are true. Okay. We're gonna say, construct this var wind and waves. Wind. These are external variables. These are members within. Okay. Members within this object, okay? So when I do this, it's going to help me pull those members out, okay? Okay. Don't sweat it. Okay. What else do we have in here? We got a lot of comparison operators. Okay. Equals equals. So we have the same problem in Java and C++. Okay. And in C, that if you forget to go equals equals, you're going to do an assignment rather than a comparison. Okay. So we got to use equals equals and not equals. We get one more, which is the one I recommend to use. Strict equals. Okay. Does not do type conversion. Okay. Remember I said sometimes everything tries to get changed type and stuff for you automatically? That can cause some weird defined, hard to find bugs. So we almost always recommend you use strict equal, and corresponding to a strict equal, triple equals, is not equal equal for strict not equal. We've got greater than equal, blah, blah, blah. The stuff you're kind of all used to, okay? Arithmetic operators. We got remainders. We got increments. We got blah, 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 okay? I expect you have all these things memorized? No, okay? Most languages don't have an exponentiation operator. JavaScript does. That's nice, okay? If you need to use something that's obscure, things like that, we look it up. For some reason, we even get a full set of bitwise operators, okay? I'm used to that with close to the metal languages, but you get it with JavaScript, okay? Logical operators, okay? A lot of this stuff was taken from Java, C, and C++. So it's and for logical and, okay? So if you didn't like those syntax and you got used to nice Python syntax, sorry. Or bar, okay? So all the usual stuff. Nice thing is we can use our dev console to help us construct some of those complicated expressions and test them. Okay, we got nots, okay, string operators, plus we'll assemble strings, okay. You can use plus for string concatenation, nifty, okay. There is one of these like we had in C and C++. I can't remember if the syntax is slightly different. A ternary operator. Okay, how does this work? First piece of it is a condition. Okay. If that condition is true, the result is value 1. If the condition is false, the result is value 2. So here's an example. Okay. Let's copy it, paste it. It's like, Professor, isn't this obscure? Yeah, it is, but it can get us out of some jams, or get us out of long syntax, particularly later on when we do React. You'll see it come up in some React and some other programming that we're going to be doing when we dealing with creating stuff for browsers. I mean, creating strings that get turned into HTML elements is what I should say. Okay, whether it's React or whatever system. Okay, so it comes in handy. So let's see how this works. Okay, so what status is an adult? Why does status get turned into adult? Because the age was 20. The age is greater than or equal to 18, so we take the positive. Let's go backwards. Okay, let's change the age to 12. Okay, I remember when my kids were 12. Okay, let's check status. Okay, so ternary operator comes in handy. Do I expect you to have the syntax memorized right this second? No. I tend to forget it, except I've been teaching this class a couple semesters in a row now, because when I'm not teaching this class, I might be doing more Python stuff, and I forget my programming languages. Okay, we saw the type of operator. Okay, here we go, delete. We're going to use that with objects and properties. Type of returns a string describing the type of the operand. So we saw that. Okay, so we said type of status string. Okay. Anything else? Relational operators. Okay. We have a bunch of these. We can tell if an object has a property. Okay. Copy. Okay. So what am I doing here? First, let's examine, then let's see what's going to get returned. My one, so I guess my object one, contains a property board, which is a foil. Okay. And here, it's got a property with sail, 6.6 meters. Okay. My two, board equals cert. Okay. So I've got two objects. Okay. And I'm going to console log sail in my one. Sail does have a property. My one does have a property named sail. My object two does not have a property sail. Var array 1, 2, 3. Okay. Log array instance of date. Oh, so these will do some checks for us. We can check to see if something is of a certain type. That's different than using type of operator. Okay, so let's copy this over. Okay, no more interruptions from people telling me I'm talking too much. Okay, let's paste. My one, my two, sail, blah, blah, blah. What is it saying here? What did it print? Console log. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't tell it to print out sail. I just asked it if sail was in my one, and it said yes. Sail in my two, it said false. Good. Is R, the thing I just defined here, ARR, an instance of array? Yes, true. Is it an instance of date? False. Date? Is there such a thing as date? Oh, there's a function called date. It's actually more than a function. It's actually a thing to build dates. If I say new date, I get the date right this second while I'm doing this. Okay. The date class is going to be very handy for us, and we'll use that later on. Okay. Whirlwind tour of JavaScript from the point of view as a programming language. Okay. From the point of view of grammar, syntax, fundamental types. We looked at some types like arrays and objects. Okay. We looked at expressions. We are going to spend more time on arrays and objects because they're fundamental. They're very fundamental, what we do. And those formats of arrays and objects are going to allow us to build data structures or to build information of arbitrary types before we even need to worry about classes. We're not going to hit classes till towards the end of the class or more the middle, depending on this is a grad class or the undergrad class, because we won't need them until we get to React class components. Okay, but we're going to use objects all the time. Interesting, eh? Okay, that's it for now, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.